Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. Mountains remember. They remember storms that carved their bones. They remember ancient rivers that polished their skin. They remember every footstep that ever touched their slopes. But one mountain remembered more than all the others. A mountain that breathed. A mountain that listened. A mountain that slept. Its name was whispered only in old tales. Iragashu, the stone giant. For ages beyond ages, he lay curled beneath his own cliffs, body fused with granite, heart beating once every 100 years. His breath was the mist that rose at dawn. His dreams were the tremors that sometimes shook the valley below. And yet, for the first time in centuries, Iragashu stirred. At the foot of the mountain, in a quiet valley where lanterns glowed like soft fireflies, lived a young wanderer named May. She had grown up hearing the legends from the elders. Asterisk, do not climb Iragashu. Asterisk, asterisk, do not wake what sleeps. Asterisk, asterisk, a giant's dream is fragile. Asterisk, but May, curious, restless, pulled by something she could not name, felt the mountain calling to her. And tonight, under a sky full of heavy clouds, she heard it clearly, a deep, distant sound, like a heartbeat. Tum. She froze. The lantern in her hand flickered. Again, she whispered. Tum. The ground trembled under her feet. May's breath caught. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't wind. It was something alive. Something awakening. She hurried to the edge of the village, where Elder Rin sat beneath an old cedar tree, gazing toward the mountain with troubled eyes. Elder, May called. You heard it too, didn't you? Rin nodded slowly. His voice was heavy. Iragashu is shifting. May stepped closer. Is he waking up? The elder closed his eyes. I do not know, but I do know this. When giants stir, the world listens. A cold wind swept through the valley. The lanterns trembled in their hooks. Above them, dark clouds twisted like restless spirits. May swallowed. Why now, after so long? Elder Rin looked at the mountain as though it were an old friend, lost to time. Because someone has entered his dreams. That night, unable to sleep, May walked alone along the riverbank. The water shimmered with strange reflections, not of the sky, nor the moon, but of a massive, slumbering figure beneath stone. She knelt. Great giant, are you hurting? A breeze answered her. A soft rumble rolled through the earth. Then she saw it. A faint glow high up on the mountain slope. A pulse of blue light, soft but persistent, as if something deep inside the mountain was calling for help. May's heart raced. She whispered to the lantern, "We're going," and the flame brightened in response. The climb began before dawn. The path up Iragashu was steep, scattered with fractured boulders and overgrown roots. Mist wrapped around May's ankles, cool and whisper-soft. As she ascended, she felt the heartbeat again. Tum. The stones quivered. Thum. The cliffs groaned like ancient ribs shifting. May gripped her lantern tightly. I'm not afraid, she told herself, but a small part of her was, because with every heartbeat, Iragashu seemed less like a mountain and more like a sleeping god. Halfway up the slope, May reached a plateau of black stone. The air was strangely warm here, as though the mountain itself radiated heat from within. She paused. A low hum vibrated through the ground, a sound like a sigh buried deep beneath layers of earth. May whispered, Iragashu? Can you hear me? A gust of wind circled her, gentle but deliberate. She took a step forward, and the ground cracked. A thin line of glowing blue light erupted beneath her feet, snaking up the slope like a living river. May stumbled back. The glow pulsed, once, twice, then shot upward toward the mountain's peak. May's eyes widened. That's not natural. The lantern's flame fluttered wildly, pulling toward the light. Something was calling her higher. She continued climbing until she reached a cavern entrance she had never seen before. Smooth edges, faint carvings glowing blue, a heartbeat echoing from deep within. May touched the stone wall. Warm, alive. She stepped inside. The cavern descended in a spiral, walls shimmering with veins of sapphire light. Each step echoed like a whisper, as though the cave itself remembered every footfall. At the very end of the winding passage, May found it, a vast chamber illuminated by a giant blue crystal. Inside the crystal, she saw a face, massive, ancient, carved from stone yet softly human. His eyes closed, his breath rising slowly. Iragashu, sleeping, dreaming, and trapped in a cage of light. May approached the crystal cautiously. So this is your dream. As she reached out, the lantern flared violently. The crystal reacted, ripples of blue energy rushing across its surface like liquid lightning. Then, a whisper filled the chamber. Not a voice. The thought. Asterisk. Who enters my silence? Asterisk. May's breath trembled. I, a May. I heard you calling. Asterisk. Calling? Asterisk. The voice echoed through her bones. Asterisk. No. I was warning. Asterisk. May stepped closer. Warning who? The giant's eyelids shifted behind the crystal, as though dreaming of something painful. Asterisk. My dreams are no longer mine. Asterisk. Asterisk. Something stirs within them. Asterisk. Asterisk. Something I cannot stop. Asterisk. A cold shiver ran through May's spine. What is it? Silence. Then, asterisk, a shadow born from a forgotten age. Asterisk. Asterisk. A memory older than mountains. Asterisk. Asterisk. It crawls through my sleep, and I can no longer hold it back. Asterisk. The ground shook. Dust fell from the cavern ceiling. May stumbled. Iragashu, what do you want me to do? The heartbeat thundered. The crystal cracked. Just once. A thin line of light spread across it like a fracture across an ancient shell. The giant whispered, Asterisk, do not wake me. Asterisk. Asterisk. If I rise, the world breaks. Asterisk. May swallowed hard. Then how do I help you? His voice grew weaker, as though fading deeper into sleep. Asterisk. Go deeper. Asterisk. Asterisk. Into my dreams. Asterisk. Asterisk. Find the shadow that walks there. Asterisk. The lantern flared brilliant gold. A hidden door in the stone wall slowly opened, carved by forces older than time. May looked at the doorway, dark, silent, waiting. She whispered, "Aragashu, I'll go." The giant sighed, a sound like a warm gust of wine through the earth. "Hurry, asterisk, before the shadow learns your name." Asterisk. May held her lantern tightly, stepped toward the door, and entered the dream of a sleeping giant. Her journey had only begun. The doorway that opened before May was impossibly old. Its frame was carved not by tools, but by pressure, as though something enormous had pushed through stone for ages until the mountain gave way. A faint blue mist drifted from the entrance, curling around May's ankles like curious fingers. The lantern's flame flickered, not in fear, but in warning. "I know," May whispered. "We're going into his dream." She stepped through. Instantly the world changed. The cavern behind her vanished. The stone floor softened beneath her feet, turning into ground woven from faintly glowing sand, like starlight crushed into dust. Above her, the sky was not a sky at all. It was a ceiling of stone, but cracked open in places, revealing swirling pools of deep blue light, like windows into the giant's sleeping mind. The entire space pulsed faintly. A heartbeat. Tum. May steadied herself. "This is your dream, Aragashu." The lantern brightened, casting a gentle gold light across the cavernous dreamscape. A path appeared, narrow, twisting, shimmering faintly beneath its glow. As May stepped onto it, the ground shifted. Dreams were not meant to be solid, but May had work to do. The further she walked, the stranger the world became. Mountains floated in midair, slowly rotating like enormous stone islands. Waterfalls flowed upward instead of down. Shadows detached themselves from objects and wandered aimlessly like lost memories. May paused as one of the shadows approached her. It had no shape, just a smear of flickering darkness. "Hello?" she whispered. The shadow trembled, then mimicked her stance. Not threatening, confused, like a dream fragment that didn't remember what it used to be. May's heart softened. "I'm not here to hurt you." The shadow rippled and faded. The lantern hummed quietly at her side. This place was alive, broken, beautiful, and dangerous. After hours or maybe seconds, for time behaved strangely in dreams, May reached a ridge overlooking an enormous valley. Her breath caught. A massive silhouette sat hunched in the center of the valley, so large that its head brushed the underside of the dream ceiling. Its limbs curled inward, its stone skin cracked with glowing blue veins. Another version of Aragashu, his dream self. He was trembling, whispering, "Leave, Stop. Don't. May felt her throat tighten. He's fighting something. The lantern pulsed sharply. A warning. She scanned the valley, and then she saw it. A long, serpentine streak of darkness slithering across the giant's back like spilled ink. The shadow, ancient, patient, feeding on fear. It curled toward Aragash's ear and whispered something May couldn't hear. The giant groaned, a deep, painful sound that shook the dreamscape. May whispered, "That's what he meant." The shadow inside his dream. The lantern flared. "Go!" The flame's voice had never been so clear. May steadied herself. "All right, let's go save a giant." As May descended into the valley, the dream warped. Paths shifted. Mountains slid across the horizon. Stones rearranged themselves like pieces of a puzzle resetting. The shadow sensed her incoming. The air thickened. The ground tilted. The giant's dream tried to push her away, not out of cruelty, but out of instinctive panic. Like a sleeper recoiling from a nightmare, May pressed forward. "I'm not here to hurt you, Aragashu. I'm here to help." The ground trembled. Then, tum, a massive heartbeat, stronger than before. The dream steadied, just enough for May to continue. She reached the base of the giant's stone hand, each finger the size of a house, and climbed the cracks as though scaling a cliff face. When she reached his shoulder, the shadow turned. Two hollow, swirling eyes opened in its shapeless face. A sound rose from it, a hiss, made of ancient wind, scraping across stone. May raised her lantern. "I'm not afraid of you." The shadow's eyes narrowed. It lunged. The lantern erupted with light. Not gentle gold, not soft warmth. A blazing burst of radiant fire. The shadow recoiled, shrieking silently, its form warping like smoke caught in a storm. May shouted over the roar, "You're hurting him. Let him go." The shadow paused, listening. Then, slowly, it stretched its long tendrils toward her. May stepped back. "No. Stay away." The lantern burned brighter, its flame extending like a shield. The shadow withdrew, but not because it feared the light, because it recognized something, tilted its head, looked directly at May. Then, in a voice colder than a winter cave, it whispered, "Your name." May froze. "What?" The shadow curled closer, inspecting her, weighing her. "Your name." The air grew icy. The lantern's flame stiffened, like a candle trapped in a sudden freeze. May whispered, You know my name?" The shadow leaned close. Its voice cracked like old stone breaking open. "He knew you." May's pulse raced. "What are you talking about? Who knew me?" The shadow twitched violently, as though resisting itself. "The first, the dreamer before the giant." May stepped back. "My family doesn't know any dreamers." The shadow hissed. "Not your family. Your spirit." Her lantern flickered wildly. Her vision flashed. A memory, soft, faint, impossible. A figure beside her, on a windy cliff, holding her hand. As the world turned to starlight, May gasped. Her knees weakened. What was that? Who was he? The shadow reached out. Find the first name. The lantern burst with blinding gold, cutting the shadow off. The vision vanished. May fell to her knees, gasping. No, come back. Tell me more. But the shadow recoiled, curling protectively, as if holding secrets it both wanted and feared to reveal. Above them, Iragashu groaned in pain. May stood, her voice steadied. I'll get the truth out of you, but first. She pointed her lantern toward the shadow. Let go of his dream. The shadow's eyes narrowed. Challenge accepted. It lunged again. May raised the lantern, and the two forces collided in a storm of gold and darkness. The dream of a giant shook violently. Far above, cracks spread across the dream sky. Iragashu trembled. May screamed, and the shadow whispered, "Your name is not the one you think." The clash of light and shadow sent a shockwave through the dreamscape. Gold from May's lantern tore through the darkness. Darkness curled, recoiled, and twisted into spirals of ink-like smoke. The shadow creature thrashed violently upon Iragashu's massive shoulder, its tendrils scraping across stone with a sound like cracking glaciers. May braced herself against the giant's ridged skin. The lantern pulsed like a living heart in her hands. "Get away from him!" she shouted. The shadow's eyes, two hollow swirls, narrowed. It hissed, not in anger, in warning. "Too early." May blinked. "What do you mean, too early?" The shadow writhed, clawing at its own form as though fighting itself. A war within a dream, a war inside a giant. The ground convulsed beneath them. Iragashu's dream self shuddered violently, his massive arms twitching as if he were trapped in a nightmare too heavy for even a giant to carry. Tum! His heartbeat thundered. Tum! Cracks raced across the dream sky. May steadied herself. "He's losing control." The shadow shrieked, a sound made of thousands of crumbling stones, and lunged at May again. But this time she didn't raise the lantern. She held her ground. "No," she whispered. "I'm not running." The shadow froze inches from her face. The swirling eyes widened. Confusion, fear, recognition. May's voice softened. "You know who I am, don't you?" The shadow trembled. Its voice fractured. "Name hidden, buried in stone. He knew you before you were born." May's breath caught. "What? Who knew me?" The shadow convulsed, its form rippling like shattered water. Then it whispered, "The first watcher." The dreamscape fell silent. Before May could ask more, Iragashu roared, a sound like an avalanche shattering worlds. A burst of force blasted across the valley, sending May tumbling down the giant's arm. She slid along cracked stone, but a massive hand of dream rock rose from the ground and caught her gently. A protective reflex. Even in agony, the giant did not want her hurt. She placed her hand on the dream hand. "Iragashu, I'm here." The giant groaned. "I still shut." Lost in his own suffering, the shadow reformed atop his shoulder. Weaker, flickering, it stared at May with haunted intensity. If you learn the truth now, the dream collapses. May gripped her lantern. What truth? The shadow bowed its head. Its voice softened into a whisper older than mountains. Your name was carved into Aragash's heart long before your birth. May's pulse raced. That's impossible. The shadow didn't move. You were called by this giant before you became flesh. She shook her head violently. No, I'm human. Just human. The shadow twitched. No human walks a giant's dream. Her breath caught. A chill ran through her. What are you saying? Before the shadow could answer, the dream cracked. Literally, a fissure tore through the valley, splitting the world in two. May screamed as the ground beneath her hand collapsed into swirling blue void. A beam of pure sapphire light erupted from Iragashu's chest. The giant arched in agony. May shielded her eyes. When the light dimmed, a doorway stood upon the giant's ribs. A portal of stone and glowing memory. The lantern pulled May toward it. Hard, as if shouting, "Go!" May turned back to the shadow. This form was dissolving, pieces flaking away like ash. "Come with me!" she shouted. The shadow shook its head slowly. "Not my path, but I need answers." Its dissolving face softened. "You already know the first one." The lantern flared gold. The shadow whispered, "You are more than you remember. More than your name. More than human." Then, with a sound like a sigh traveling across centuries, it broke apart into drifting wisps of darkness and vanished into Iragashu's dream. May reached for it. Wait! Too late. She stood alone before the glowing door, her destiny waiting, her truth calling, the mountain's dream trembling around her. May took one breath, held her lantern close, and stepped through the doorway. She entered a vast chamber of crystalline stone, silent, hidden, ancient. In the center lay a pedestal. Upon it sat a single smooth stone, small, round, pale blue. As May approached, the lantern trembled violently. Then, the stone cracked, light spilled out. A voice filled the chamber, a voice she somehow knew. May! Her heart stopped. Daughter of the first watcher. Her knees weakened. Child born of dream and flesh. The lantern blazed white. May whispered, "What am I?" The voice answered, "Awaken, May. Remember the name you carried before you had a body, before you were born into the mortal world." The stone unfolded like a blooming flower. A symbol appeared inside, a single word. Her true name. May stared at it, breath shallow, heart pounding, mind unraveling. She whispered the ancient name aloud. The chamber shuddered. The giant stirred. The dream itself rewrote. And with the speaking of that forgotten name, May was no longer only human. The chamber shook as May whispered the name. Her true name, a name older than valleys, older than the wind that carved Iragashu's stone skin. The glowing word hung in the air like a suspended star, and everything inside the chamber bowed around it. The lantern in May's hand blazed white, its flame swirling fiercely as if rejoicing or warning. May staggered back, her breath fogged white. The ground beneath her glowed. What is happening to me? The voice, ancient, steady, and familiar, echoed from the blooming stone. Asterisk, you remember now. Asterisk. No, May whispered, shaking her head. I don't understand. How can I have another name? Another life? The stone unfurled even wider, petals of glowing rock revealing an inner core of sapphire light. Asterisk, because you were not born once. Asterisk. Asterisk, you were born twice. Asterisk. May's heartbeat skipped. Twice. Asterisk, once in the dream. Asterisk. Asterisk, once in the flesh. Asterisk. May froze. And before that? The voice softened. Asterisk, before even dreams existed. You were a watcher. Asterisk. Her throat tightened. A watcher of what? The light flickered. Asterisk of mountains. Asterisk. Asterisk of giants. Asterisk. Asterisk of the world before memory. Asterisk. May gasped, vision blurring. But I'm human. The voice did not argue. It simply spoke the truth. Asterisk. Your body is human. Asterisk. Asterisk. Your spirit is not. Asterisk. The chamber pulsed. The dream shook. And far above them, Iragashu groaned in his sleep. May stumbled toward the pedestal. What do you mean I was a watcher? Why don't I remember any of this? The voice inside the stone answered. Asterisk, because you chose to forget. Asterisk. May's knees weakened. Why would I do that? The stone dimmed with a sorrow older than stone. Asterisk, because the first giants fell, and their fall broke your heart. Asterisk. A wave of emotion ripped through May, a grief so ancient she couldn't possibly have lived it, yet she felt it. Tears blurred her vision. You mean, I lost someone? The voice whispered. Asterisk, you lost them all. Asterisk. Her breath trembled. And Iragashu? The chamber's light flared. The voice answered with reverence. Asterisk. He was the last giant you guarded. Asterisk. May took a step back. Her heart struck against her ribs like a drum. I protected him? Asterisk, more than that. Asterisk. Asterisk. You saved him when the world forgot his kind. Asterisk. May pressed a shaky hand over her chest. I don't remember any of that. The voice replied. Asterisk. Because you sealed those memories. Asterisk. Asterisk, and chose a human life. Asterisk. Asterisk. But the seal is breaking. Asterisk. The lantern pulsed in her hand. A sharp, bright heartbeat of light. May whispered. Because of the shadow? Asterisk, yes. Asterisk. And because Iragashu is waking? Asterisk, yes. Asterisk. And because I spoke my true name? The light dimmed knowingly. Yes. The chamber shifted. The walls bent, flattened, and suddenly expanded outward, as though the dream itself needed more space. The air rippled. A vision appeared. May stood frozen, because she saw herself, not as a human, not as she was now, but as something radiant, tall, and serene, a figure of starlight wrapped in pale wind. Her true form, the first watcher, standing beside Iragashu in his youth, hand resting gently against the giant's knee, protective, kind, steady, a companion to mountains. May reached toward the vision, felt like reaching toward a forgotten heartbeat. "It was me," she whispered. "I was with him ages ago." The lantern glowed warmly, almost like pride. The vision shifted. She saw Iragashu falling, as the age of giants ended, saw her ancient self kneeling beside him, weeping crystalline tears, as she sealed his heart in stone, so he could sleep until the world was safe. And then she saw herself erase her memories, willingly, painfully, completely, choosing mortality, choosing rebirth, choosing to forget the ancient grief. May whispered, "I left him." The chamber throbbed with sorrow. "No," the voice corrected gently. You saved him. The lantern flickered, pointing upward. "Now," the voice whispered, "you must save him again." The dream violently trembled. Cracks opened across the floor. Shards of blue light sprayed upward. May nearly fell, but the pedestal rose, lifting her to safety. The entire dreamscape roared as if the mountain itself were crying out. May steadied herself and shouted, "What's happening?" The voice replied sharply, Iragashu's heart awakens, but the shadow still grips his spirit. A deafening crack thundered through the chamber. The dream ceiling split open. Through the rift, May saw Iragashu's real stone body outside, massive, trembling, glowing with wild light. He was waking, too fast, too violently. If a giant awoke in fear, the world would crack like thin ice. May clutched her lantern. "What do I do?" The voice answered with urgency. Go to him. But I don't know how. You spoke your true name. You no longer walk as only human. The lantern blazed, the flame extending outward like wings of white fire. Go to him, watcher. Go to the giant you once swore to protect. The chamber shattered. Stone dissolved. Light swallowed everything. May gasped as the lantern pulled her upward, through the dream, through the cracks, through Iragashu's sleeping mind, back toward the waking world. Her eyes opened. She stood on the mountain's outer slope. The storm clouds above twisted violently. Blue fire pulsed beneath the stone. And before her, Iragashu was rising, a giant of living rock, eyes of burning sapphire, breath that shook the world. May whispered, "Please, don't wake in fear." She lifted her lantern. Its flame burst into blinding radiance. A bridge of pure light formed between them, a connection across dreams, across centuries, across forgotten vows. May stepped onto it. As she approached the giant's awakening heart, her ancient name echoed through the wind, and Iragashu's massive eyes slowly opened. They were filled with pain and recognition. "Watcher!" May's breath broke. "I'm here." Wind roared across the peak as Iragashu rose from centuries of slumber. Stone cracked and fell from his shoulders in great slabs. Dust spiraled through the air like ancient spirits freed from stillness. The earth shuddered beneath his weight, not in anger, but in pain. May stood on the glowing bridge of light, her lantern blazing with the fire of her true name. She whispered, "Iragashu, look at me." The giant, towering, wounded, trembling, lifted his head. His eyes, twin stars of sapphire flame, locked onto her. A sound rose from deep inside his chest. Not a roar, not a groan, but a broken whisper carried by wind. "Watcher!" May's breath caught. He remembered, even after ages of stone and sleep. He remembered. The bridge shuddered under May's feet as she stepped closer. Iragashu staggered, gripping the mountainside with a hand the size of a temple. Flames of blue light flickered across his cracks. Painful, unstable, laced with the shadow's lingering corruption. May lifted the lantern. "I'm here," she whispered. "You're not alone anymore." The lantern's light reached his skin, and the stone beneath it softened, as if remembering her touch from another lifetime. Iragashu's massive head lowered. His voice shook the air. "Why did you leave me?" May's heart clenched. "I never left you. I forgot." The giant's eyes dimmed in grief. Asterisk. "The world forgot us all." Asterisk. May reached out a hand, tiny compared to the vast being before her, and her lantern extended the gesture. Light touched his cheek. "I'm here now," she said softly, "and I'm not going anywhere." Iragashu closed his eyes. The mountain exhaled, but the peace didn't last. A tremor rippled up Iragashu's arm. Cracks widened across his chest, glowing like molten rivers. The shadow's voice hissed through the wind. "Still here." May spun. Darkness leaked from Iragashu's fractures, threads of oily night twisting into shape, coiling into a serpent-like mass behind him. The shadow was not gone. It had only hidden deeper. May raised the lantern. "No more hiding." The shadow shrieked silently as the lantern's flame struck it. Iragashu roared in agony, stone splintering under the weight of his awakening. May realized the truth in a heartbeat. The shadow wasn't just invading his dream. It was part of him now, a thorn buried deep in his spirit, a wound that hadn't healed for millennia. May stepped forward. "Iragashu, let me inside again." The giant shook violently. "You will be crushed." "I cannot hold myself steady." I don't need you steady, May said. I need you to trust me. His eyes softened. I always did. The lantern blazed. The world split into light. May fell through a vortex of stone, flame, and memory. When she opened her eyes, she stood inside Iragashu's heart. Not the physical heart of a giant, but the spiritual chamber deep within his essence. A vast cavern of glowing stone, walls shifting with memories, breathing like a living being. A haunting chant echoed through the chamber. Remember, remember, remember. May clutched her lantern. I'm here, she called. Iragashu, I'm inside. Where are you? A low rumble answered. Then a massive figure emerged from the stone wall, half-formed, struggling, flickering between giant and shadow-twisted form. Iragashu's spirit self. The giant looked at her with exhausted, grief-worn eyes. I am losing. May ran toward him without hesitation. You're not losing anything. Not while I'm here. The giant collapsed onto one knee. His voice fractured. Asterisk, Watcher. Why did you take a mortal life? Asterisk. May placed a hand on his enormous chest. Through his stone skin she felt pain older than memory. I couldn't bear watching your kind fall, she whispered. So I sealed my memories. I ran. Iragashu shuddered. I waited ages for you to return. Tears pricked May's eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The chamber trembled. Darkness oozed from the walls, coiling toward Iragashu. The shadow was here. May raised her lantern. I won't run again. The shadow burst into the chamber, a writhing mass of ancient fear and grief. It howled without sound, striking at Iragashu's chest. The giant groaned, falling back. May stepped between them. The lantern's flame surged into a brilliant arc of white fire. The shadow recoiled. You cannot burn me. No, May whispered, but I can outshine you. The lantern grew brighter and brighter until the chamber glowed like a newborn star. Iragashu shielded his eyes with a massive hand. May stepped forward. You're not a curse, she whispered to the shadow. You're a wound. The shadow froze. You're a hurt he carried for ages. It shivered. And wounds are meant to be healed. The lantern's light grew gentle, soft, warm, golden. The shadow's form began to melt, slowly, painfully, revealing what lay beneath. A core of dim blue light, a memory of Iragashu's first fall, his last brother, his final grief. May touched the core. It's all right, she whispered. I understand. The shadow dissolved. The core vanished into Iragashu's chest. The giant gasped and drew a steady breath. For the first time in ages, light washed across the chamber. When it faded, Iragashu stood tall, whole, unbroken, breathing without pain. His spirit self looked down at May with awe. Watcher, you returned my heart. May smiled through tears. And you remembered me. The chamber dissolved into golden wind. May felt herself pulled upward, back toward the waking world. Aragashu's voice followed her. Asterisk. Come back to me. Asterisk. She whispered. I will. Her eyes opened. She was standing on the mountain's peak again. Aragashu loomed above her, no longer trembling, no longer cracking. His eyes glowed gently. Deep, ancient gratitude. May held the lantern to her heart. It's not over, she whispered. But you're safe now. The giant lowered his head. Asterisk, because of you. Asterisk. May reached up and touched his massive finger, a gesture she once made eons ago. The wind stilled, the mountain sighed, and for the first time in ages, the stone giant welcomed the dawn without fear. The dawn over Iragashu broke slowly, not with sunlight, but with warmth. A gentle, rising warmth that rolled across the mountain like a soft tide, melting frost, quieting winds, and turning stone into a living hush. May stood upon the highest ridge of the mountain, lantern still glowing faintly in her hand. Below her, Iragashu, the stone giant, had lowered himself to one knee, not in weakness, but in reverence, a gesture of gratitude, from a being older than the sky. His voice drifted over the wind. Asterisk, watcher, you restored my heart. Asterisk, May swallowed softly. No, she whispered. I returned what was already yours. The blue flames in Iragashu's eyes softened. Asterisk, you saved me from my own grief. Asterisk, asterisk, as you once did, in the age before memory. Asterisk, May lowered her gaze. I wish I had remembered sooner. Iragashu shook his massive head gently. Asterisk, your forgetting was an act of mercy. Asterisk, asterisk, you carried our sorrow, then chose rest. Asterisk, May felt tears sting her eyes. But now the world is different, she whispered. We can face it together. A brief silence, then a warm sound, like stone cracking open under spring sunlight. Iragashu was laughing. Together. Asterisk, yes. Asterisk. The mountain beneath May shifted. A path of smooth, glowing stone unfurled before her, leading toward the giant's chest, where a faint pulsing glow radiated through cracks of sapphire light. His newly restored soul, the place where May had healed the shadow wound. Iragashu lowered his massive hand. An invitation. May stepped onto his palm, warm as morning stone, and he lifted her slowly to his shoulder. The world unfolded beneath them, oceans of mist, rivers of stone, peaks older than history. May closed her eyes. This feels familiar, she whispered. Iragashu answered softly. Asterisk, because you once walked beside me. Asterisk, asterisk, not as flesh, not as mortal. Asterisk, asterisk, but as the first watcher. Asterisk, May clutched the lantern to her chest. I'm still her, she whispered, and I'm still May. Both are true, the giant replied. Asterisk, two names, one soul. Asterisk, she nodded. A strange, beautiful peace settled in her heart, but the peace did not last. A gust of bitter wind curled around Iragashu's head. Dark, cold, heavy. May looked up sharply. What is that? The giant's expression darkened, a tremor moving through his stone shoulders. Asterisk, not all shadows vanish when one is healed. Asterisk, May stood, gripping the lantern tightly. You mean there's more? The wind howled. A voice, thin and ancient, whispered through the air. Giant, watcher, unfinished. A chill ran down May's spine. She turned. A fracture had opened in the sky, a fissure of pitch-black darkness, like a sleeping wound torn open by her awakening of Iragashu. May's voice shook. That wasn't from your dream. Iragashu nodded heavily. No. Asterisk, this shadow does not belong to me. Asterisk, the void widened. A shape crawled out. Not like the shadow she fought before. Older, colder, heavy as a forgotten millennium. A remnant of a fallen giant. A memory of destruction. A grief that never healed. May gasped. This one isn't yours at all. Iragashu's voice rumbled with sorrow. No. Asterisk. It is the shadow of my last brother. Asterisk. The creature turned its hollow gaze toward May and whispered, You failed us. Her heart stopped. I what? The shadow drifted closer. You watched us fall and ran. May trembled. I had no power. You turned mortal to flee your grief and left the last giant alone. Iragashu reached up protectively. Asterisk. Do not speak lies to her. Asterisk. But May whispered. No, he's not lying. Silence. Settled. Stone. Wind. Heartbeats. Memory. Everything quieted. May stepped to the edge of Iragashu's shoulder. I did run, she whispered. I couldn't bear losing you all. She lifted the lantern. This flame trembled. But I'm here now. The shadow shivered. Not in anger, in pain. We were so many. Now only one remains. May's voice softened to a whisper. You're hurting. The shadow writhed, refusing the truth. Anger is easier than sorrow. May nodded. I know. She raised the lantern. Its flame split. One gold, one white. Promise. She whispered. You don't need to haunt the world anymore. The shadow screamed, a sound of grief bursting into the sky. Iragashu braced himself. May stepped forward on the bridge of light that formed from her lantern. She reached toward the shadow. The flame touched it gently. A sound escaped its core. A sob. The shadow dissolved slowly, softly, returning to dust. To memory, to peace. May whispered a single word. Rest. And for the first time since the age of giants, the shadow obeyed. When the last wisp vanished, Iragashu bowed his head to her. Asterisk watcher, may you ended his suffering. Asterisk, May wiped her eyes. So did you. The giant exhaled, a warm, slow gust of wind that washed over the valley. Asterisk now. I may sleep again. Asterisk. May's heart tightened. Do you have to? Iragashu nodded gently. Asterisk. The world is quieter now. Asterisk. Asterisk. My time is slower than yours. Asterisk. Asterisk. I must rest until the mountains need me again. Asterisk. May stepped closer. I'll stay until your eyes close. The giant smiled, a soft, ancient smile that shook the stars. Asterisk. Then let this be my final sight before slumber. Asterisk. May lifted her lantern, letting its last light shine across his face. Iragashu lowered himself back into the mountain, curling into the stone, breathing slow, safe, whole. His voice faded like a warm whisper through the earth. Asterisk. Thank you, Watcher. Asterisk. Asterisk. Thank you, May. Asterisk. Asterisk. Until the next waking. Asterisk. May stood alone on the mountain's peak. The sky brightened, the wind softened, and the lantern, its flame now steady and calm, rested against her heart. She whispered into the dawn, "Sleep well, my giant." The mountain answered, with the softest tremor, like the last heartbeat before a peaceful dream. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.